such an honor of me to be here um, to uh, to share myself in front of all of you. Actually, I'm very emotional right now, and being here today reminds me of 2 years back when I just started maybe just a few lessons in core training. And it was in April, and then in May, I also got a chance to join a lot of sessions in International Coaching Week as an audience. So it means a lot to me to be here now and as a speaker to share my own story in my coaching journey to all of you. So thank you very much once again for having me here. And the topic that I'm sharing with you today, let me have the permission to share my screen to you. It's about coaching and parenting. It is not about parenting coach, but it is about my own story as a coach, being a mom in my parenting journey. And 2 years back also meant a lot for me, not just because I started coaching, but it was also the time when I hit bottom in the relationship with my early teenager son. It was very hard time for us. It started 3 years ago, and in the first year, I had to try so many things. I went to a lot of parenting classes, trainings, a lot of one-on-one sessions. I even reached for parenting counseling, therapist, so many things in a wish for a magical change, because I found that my son just not the same person anymore. But that didn't work. Everything that I tried, at least it didn't work in the way that I wanted. And coaching came along. So today I wish to be here and share my own story and share the practices that I have been practicing in my daily life in parenting, with the hope to share this with you, to let it hurt, and maybe, if possible, to inspire us as parents to go on with this beautiful journey. All right, so before we start, just to feel that I'm not alone here, can we just log in the chat box? If you are a parent, can you type in yes? Oh, wait, not yes. Just type in yay, please. Yay in the chat box if you are a parent or a parent to be. Yes, I see a lot of yay. Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes. And before we go into the main sharing, I just like to share with you this. Oh, okay. I hope you are looking, you can see this. This is what my dearest teacher, Ronald Yao, has shared with me about parenting. Even though we are all human beings, but that was the first time I heard about parent being. And as parents, we are transformed by having the space to reflect on our parent being. And this is so true for me. And looking at this, I think of two things. First, It is such a great gift for all of us as coaches to reflect. Of course, it's a gift to everybody, but as coaches, we get to practice reflection in our job and we can bring it to our life. And the second thing, I realized that we can bring so many things that we practice in our coaching conversations to our daily life. And that was also what I did. And I thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to reflect on the last 2-3 years of me having coaching in my life and having it embarking in my parenting journey. And so I told you there was a before, there was a bottom that I hit. And I would like to share with you this before phase of my parenting. But before going on there, I would also love to hear from you. Also to make me feel that I'm not so lonely. So if we have a scale from 1 to 5, where 5, it's the excellent, and 1 is very bad. How would you scale yourself in parenting? If you're not a parent, maybe you can imagine. Let's just have a game here. Please log that in the chat box. Thank you so much. Wow, I see a 4, a 3. Wow, a 3.5. Okay, 2, a lot of 4s. 3, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I myself also thought back then that I was quite a good parent. And this is what quite a good parent did. Let me share with you. I did already mention that I joined the core training 2 years ago. And when I joined the core training, I joined with one of the goals that I had when I joined it was how to coach my child. I thought that after learning coaching, I can coach him and I can change him. And I think by learning coaching, I will know all the right questions to ask, you know, and how magical that can be. I can use these right questions to reform my son, my rebellious son. And also, back in the days, these are a lot of things I said. I told on him the things that he should do. I said no a lot. You should do this, you should do that. I picked on his faults. I saw a lot of posts from my friends on the social media sharing about their wonderful children. And I thought to myself, oh, my son cannot do that. He's not good enough. And so there was an urge in me to make him change. And because that couldn't happen, there was a lot of frustration, a lot of anger. And I brought this question to a lot of training, to a lot of mentors. How can I manage my anger? Because there was a lot of anger. And now that I'm a teen and parents coach, I also receive this question a lot from parents. How can I manage my anger? So I think this can be a common issue for a lot of parents out there. But you know, as coaches, we know that these are just the surface. There must be something underneath that drove me to this. Who would like to guess what could have been underneath the surface for me. And while waiting for your response, I would love to share with you that back then I remember that I received a lot of messages from school saying, yeah, he's not doing good enough. He didn't do his homework. I got a lot of pressure from that. And I was also a mom of a newly born. So I was also going through a lot of stress and maybe depression. I didn't even know. So a lot of issues from the parents themselves can also lead to this on the surface. But more than that, I think back then I had a perception that my child needs to be fixed. He was not enough. And by telling him what to do, I think I believed that I know better. And when thinking about this, it's just funny but sad that how often in life do we people think that we are superior to other people, especially to the smaller, to the younger, to the kids. We often think that they don't know much. And I also believed that the authority is in my hands. So I can give orders. I can tell him what to do. And these are all in the subconsciousness of my mind. So I didn't aware of all this. So even though I loved him so much and I wanted him the happiness and the best, but what actually brought to us, there was disconnection. We couldn't do the things that we did, but that we used to do before. The healthy habits that the games that we played together, book reading. Warmth was missing. And warmth is very important, I think, in love, in relationships, and in families. And this is sad. Love is conditional. I remember back then, I told my spouse, hey, baby, why is he like this? Why has he changed? I feel like I cannot love this person anymore. And that is what I actually told my son. I said to him, hey, if you're like this, I feel like I cannot love you anymore. The poor creature just like bursted into tears and told me, if you cannot love me, then just be it. And it's just so sad, you know, to feel that he needs to be something in order to receive the love. There was a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, because there was a lot of expectation, lots of ordering around. And we couldn't feel the sense of fun and joy anymore. And this is for the relationship in the family. But I was also trying to reflect, what was it for him, for the children in this kind of relationship? He must have felt so lonely and lost. He must have felt this diffidence where his lack of the confidence for himself. He doesn't know his values. He doesn't know what his strengths are. He doesn't know where he belongs. He wasn't hurt, so he had to yell. He had to show his rebellion. He has to be different to let me know that, hey, I'm here. This is me. Listen to me. And since he doesn't feel accepted and belong. Him, as well as so many other children out there, would seek elsewhere for connection and acceptance, like in games, online groups, bunch of people. So this was my before. And I'm so grateful for what I have gone through and the present that we are having together. And that only came ever since coaching. And it didn't come fast. It didn't come fast. It came in 2 years long, and it's still ongoing. But as I reflected on this, I also want to note down what did I do right, so that maybe more parents out there can apply it into their parenting and into their daily lives. How can we bring coaching practices to daily life parenting? And of course, when we think about coaching, a lot of people would say, listening and asking questions are all coaching is about. But I believe all of us here know better. We know that there's so much more than just listening and asking questions, even though if we listen in a way and we ask questions in a way, it already made a difference. So the first thing that I want to share with you is the mindset. We all know, we all learned in our core training. The coaching mindset is about what, guys? Heightening awareness and deepen the learning, right? But for me, it's so much more than that. I think it's in the beautiful of the coaching mindset that we coaches do have is the partnering. And also the trust that we believe every client of ours would have their own resources, their own potential to find a way of their being. And how beautiful it can be if we can be a partner with our children and have the trust in them. So instead of the me before holding the authority and believed that he was not enough, I have changed. And so much more than just the mindset. Who are using framing in your daily life? I got complaint from my husband saying, hey, stop doing that thing to me. You keep summarizing things ever since you started coaching. But this is what I do. And I think it's working quite well for me in my parenting. But how do we frame? How do I frame? As I reflect back, what I'm reframing is not just the content of a conversation that we share every day, but we can also frame the situation that our children are in. And for any of you who are guests and who are non-coaches here, I just want to share with you what framing in CMA is. So for us, every time when a client shares their story, we would pick out the gems in the story and put it back for the client to see clearer the whole situation that they are in just some main points. And we can also do so in our lives. And I frame the situation that he's in like, hey, I just saw that after your brother did that to you, you have been sitting there silently for 30 minutes. Instead of just coming to conclusion of what he's going through. Or we can also frame our own feelings or what we've been going through. Hey, after you did that, I feel like there's a sense of anger going on. And I really want to explore more about this anger. And I want to talk with you about it. So just by sharing this with our children would let them have more clarity about what's going on. Even their stress in a test season or like difficulty with a relationship, they would also need clarity. The what or the who? Well, we mentioned about this a lot in our training, no? But what exactly is the what and the who that I'm talking about? Since we are so much involved in the situations in daily life, sometimes we got too reactive and we got dragged along with the situation. But if we can pick out the who of our children and the who of ourselves, it would make a difference. If we can notice and we can identify the challenges that they might be going through, something that they might be in need of, that would be so different. I remember one time when my little son, 3-year-old, he was just crying because I dropped something on the floor and he wanted to be the person who picked it up. So when I picked it up, he just cried and he wanted me to drop it back where it actually, exactly where it was, so that he can pick it up for me. So at first I felt like, oh my God, why is he like this? We are in a hurry, we must go. But then I tried to think, is there a need here? And I found out, oh, his needs was to feel that he is helpful for mom. And when I found out that, I thought, oh, it was so beautiful. And it's just take 1 second for me to put it back and just maximum a minute for him to pick it up and brought it to me. And that's what I did. And that's how beautiful it was. The teacher told us this: reactivity overrides intentionality. And sometimes in life, we have intentions and we want to come to our children to say something, to share something, to teach them something. But something happened that drags us along. So in this case, we will remember to pause. And not just the pause in a conversation, but in life, if we feel like, oh, we are having a pressure, we really want the kids to do something, to follow us, to do something as we want, and it gives us stress, then maybe we can also use a pause. And it will calm down our pressure, our stress, and everything will be easier for all of us, including the parents and the children. And the pause can also help for us to notice if we are in a deduction trap. And in this case, we would remind ourselves to use the observation. And what can we observe here? Of course, we can observe our kids with pure observation, but we can also observe ourselves. And in my experience, if we can really observe like our emotions or our intentions, and maybe go a little deeper underneath that. Sometimes I ask myself the 5 whys questions to know more about us and our wants as a parent, our needs as a parent. Or sometimes we can call out the emotions name. I'm having a frustration. Sometimes, this was one time I talked to my son. I was like, hey, I feel like I'm having this big frustration. And I said, oh, let me think, what was I frustrated about? And then I couldn't think of a reason to get frustrated with. And I got free, just like that. So just by looking at it, sometimes it helps. And positive psychology. I love this. It's a gem to me. And in our coaching conversations, we remember to acknowledge our clients, right? So why not acknowledging our children? And when acknowledging, maybe not just generally, like, hey, you've done well. But if we can call out in details what they are acknowledged of. Hey, I see that you've made a lot of effort. Hey, it must not have been easy to say sorry. Oh, you fell and you pulled the strength to step up again. So all of these little things only come up if we observe them with our heart. And I believe not just these things on the screen that would help in our parenting, but so many more. We would need our presence there. We would need our empathy there. So if you think of something that we can learn from coaching and we can apply here, please also share in the chat box, because I think we can always use collective wisdom. What about asking questions? I just want to share this with you because I also experienced once a very simple question made a huge impact on my son. Just about 2 months ago, he was very down, very low. He was very sad, stayed in his room all the time. And I got to drag him out of his room and to a cafe. And there, as we shared, as we talked, he told me, Mom, I think I'm in need of joy. I was so happy, because for him, in order for him to identify his needs and talking it out loud, it was already a big, big thing. So I was so happy. And what I did was asking him this. Oh, so what brings you joy? And we spent like 30 minutes, 40 minutes in the cafe, noting down all of these little notes, it's all in Vietnamese, but it's just like the food, the music, the friends, the games, the stories that would make him happy. And then I made it to a board and hang it on the wall with also what brings me joy, and we can just share this together. And ever since, every time that he feels down, all he needs to do is just to go to this board and pick out something that he can do to bring out his joy. It's very sustainable. You can try this too. And as I'm bringing my sharing to a close, I just love to share this last thing with you. Transformation, it doesn't happen from coaching our children. Well, mostly because most of the time they wouldn't let us coach them, But it happens in our own transformations as parents. And with this, I wish you a very enjoyable journey as parents, even if you are already a parent or you are going to be. Thank you very much for being here and listening to me.
Thank you so much, Lynn. So for the next part, I think there will be some questions or sharing from all of you, but then please save it to the end of the session today. So the next part will be the life direction from Ronald. Over to you, Ronald.
Thank you very much, Cho, and welcome everyone. I'm not sure where you are from. So a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you for joining us. That was such an inspiring sharing by Ling, and I'm so inspired by that. I guess to sum it all, as we celebrate ICF Coaching Week with what Ling has shared, I guess what she brought across really is about transform parents, transform children. And we are reminded once again that as we go through a coaching training, that when we hope that we can gain that skill set so that we can transform somebody, we are reminded once again that the first person who gets transformed is we ourselves as coaches. Yeah. And it's what a wonderful thing to do. Yeah. So thank you very much. Okay, I understand that some of us may not be able to hear me very well. I'm so sorry about that. I happen to be currently in Pakistan, right? And I'm here on her work engagement. So the network here might be a little bit unstable, right? So I will speak slower. Hopefully that will help. Okay. So at this moment, I'd like to share about life direction coaching, and this is really a passion for me, and it's really also a calling for me. I remember when I was considering stepping out from my corporate world into the next season of my life, I took the time to reflect and to pray and say, okay, so what is the next step for me, and what am I going to do in the next half of my life? And if there's going to be only one thing that I'm going to do, what would that be? And it was through a 2 years journey that I discovered that, okay, I'm going to really make a difference in individuals' life. And I would like to really spend my next half of my life journeying with individuals and being a part of their life and helping them to move forward in their life. Yeah. Okay. So that was what I wanted to do. And so with that, then I took time to think through how I'm going to do it. And that led me to coaching. Okay. Eventually got trained in CMA and learned the skills and competency to make a difference. And it was also at that point in time that as I have this calling to really make a difference in individuals' life and in helping people find direction in their life, then I also took the time to reflect, how am I going to do that? So to cut the long story short, after reflecting and thinking through and doing a lot of research, I kind of just a framework kind of just downloaded onto me while I was driving home one day. Okay, so it was amazing. It was, yes, while I was driving, then the framework downloaded. Yeah. Okay, so it was very exciting for me at that point in time, and so I actually penned it down. And so I'm going to share this framework with all of us. Okay, and basically the framework talks about 8 elements that really influence us as we seek direction in life. And I basically use this framework to kind of just guide me in the way I coach somebody, whether it's an adult, one who is seeking for career change, or one who is a young adult looking at which field he should be majoring in university. Yeah. So this is the framework that I use currently. And I use this framework together with CMA coaching philosophy and also coaching framework as well. Yeah. Okay, so I call this a kite metaphor, okay, simply because I use this, I design it as a metaphor and I present it as a metaphor. I put it in front of the client and allow the client to take a look and to encourage conversation and to explore various areas, okay? All right, so just an overview, all right? I'm not going to go in detail, okay, and in depth into this framework. This is just an overview of what this kite metaphor is all about. Okay, basically I look at life as in one trying to fly a kite. Yeah, so we are trying to fly a kite. Obviously, who is the kite? We are the kite. All right, and we are flying the kite, and we decide how the kite is going to fly. And so in flying the kite, there are basically 8 elements that is on the right. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. So here are the 8 elements that really impact us in our life and how our life direction might change and how it might proceed and progress. All right. So number 1 is the rail. Okay. And this rail basically represents the values. And I think that values is something that is directing our life. And it basically the way we navigate our life consciously or subconsciously, our values really give direction and set certain direction and pushes us forward. Second is really emotions. Okay, emotions basically provide feedback on how the kite is, the string rather, basically provide feedback on how the kite is flying. Is that too strong, or maybe it's too weak? Right? It sends a tension in the string that tells you what you need to do. And therefore, in many ways, I think in life, in how we see life, and how is life treating us, and how are we moving in our life, whether are we in the right direction, whether we need to make a change or not. I think there's some sense we have our intuition that tells us, right? And so our emotions, okay, basically sets that and help us to get a sense of where we are at the same time. Okay, give us a sense. All right, so our emotions, our feelings, our bodily sensation, our intuition basically serve as a tool for navigating and orientating in our life. So strings. And then we have the breather. Now, the breather is a very interesting thing. In kite flying, the kite will not fly unless there's a breather. So if there's no breather, then it will not fly. Huh? So the breather is basically, if you look at the screen right now, the picture here, and you see that loose string that's being tied onto the kite, and that is the breather. And what is the breather? Through my life experience, I realized that one thing that really helped me to fly, some special relationship in my life, intentional relationship that I developed, and of which this relationship, I give permission to these relationships to speak into my life and to stretch me and to help me grow. And so very intentional. And so I call this the developmental relationship. I think in life, if we want to grow and develop ourselves, then we need relationships that are very specific, that are very intentional, that we allow these people to come into our life with this understanding that they will have a big influence and big impact in our life, and we allow them to speak into our life to help us to grow and to develop. All right. So that is the breather. And also we have the sail. All right. And at the kite, we do have a sail. And what is the sail? The sail represents the strength of an individual. And we believe that personal strength, okay, is a factor that facilitates value living and also goal achievement. And it increases personal well-being as well. And so all the positive traits that reflects one's thought, feelings, and behavior are all in the strength, and it actually motivates one. Okay, the strength is the one that motivates one to achieve goals and to move forward strongly and to be energized and to be engaged in life. Yeah. Then another part of the kite is the tail. So interestingly, the tail is really about weaknesses. The tail is used in a kite because the kite may not be able to, there may be, the kite might lack balance. And so the tail comes in to provide that balance. So that signifies weaknesses. And so in our own personal life, there are weaknesses, okay, reflecting personal character, weaknesses in personal characteristics, okay, of which it reduces our well-being. And so weaknesses then can be represented maybe in terms of physical, it could be cognitive, it could be at a behavioral level. It doesn't really matter. It just represents weaknesses. All right. And weaknesses does affect the way we, does affect the direction in life that we are heading and how positive and how strong and how motivated we move forward and how life is going to be. Okay, so that is the tail. And then we also have the wind as another element. And the wind basically talks about goal, right? So wind is needed in order to send the kite upwards and to send the kite towards a certain direction, right? So that the kite can fly. And that is really what we want. We want our life to be filled with sense of direction and a sense of goal. And so in life, we do need to set certain goal. And so the wind represents the goal. All right. It represents specific and concrete destination of where the kite would like to fly to. Okay. And 7 is really the weather. Weather represents life events. And well, we know that life events, they have both positive and also the negative. And positive, negative events, they all impact life. And how do we look at and how do we view and how do we reflect on all these events in our life? Does make an impact in the way we journey in life as well. All right. And finally, other kite flyers. All right. So in life, there's not only one kite flyer, there are many other kite flyers in the park. All right. And so what do kite flyers really represent? It represents social relationship, other people in our lives. And we are surrounded by people, and people do influence us positively and negatively. So regardless of how they influence, our life journey can take a detour because of relationships as well. And so you have all these 8 elements that will impact a person's life and a person's life direction as well. Okay. And so I use this 8 elements as a means of having a coaching conversation with a client to allow them to explore various areas and to help them to determine their life direction. Okay. So with this understanding, as like I said, I'm not going to go through this in depth. I'm going to share a little bit about how I go about having conversation with my clients in regards to those who are looking at wanting to find their life direction. Okay. So usually in my session, when a customer comes or a client comes, we usually have about 3 to 5 sessions. And the thing that I really focus on in helping my client find direction in life, be it career transition, be it a young adult wanting to find out which course he should be taking in uni. All right. Okay. It's really by looking at a few components and a few elements here. All right. So before I talk about that, when we talk about wanting to seek for life direction and one who is coming to a coaching conversation or coaching session seeking for life direction, they are really looking at wanting to make a decision. I think fundamentally, when we talk about life direction, it's really about making a decision, right? Yeah. And in making a decision, what we want is to have clarity, really. Okay. And so in making a decision in our life, some of the key component or key elements that we need to consider gaining clarity is in the area of values and strength. And so this is what I usually work with my clients on, okay, which is, okay, what could be your values and what are your strengths? Okay. And in my experience so far, having 3 sessions on discovering and uncovering the values and the strength, interestingly, after 3 sessions, most of them knows where they are going, okay, and knows what to do. All right. So what do I do in this in exploring with my clients in this area of values and strength? Firstly, in strength, basically what I do with them is I use either a value list or a value reflection. Now, what is a value list? Basically, it's a list of values, okay? And I like the client to explore and to reflect what are the values that are most important to them, okay? And majority of the clients are not very sure what are the values. So I usually use either a value list where I give it to them to reflect on before the session, okay, and I get them to list the top 5 values, okay, so there'll be all the values, or I may use a value reflection form of which there are questions in there to help them think and reflect about what could be some values that are important to them. And some of the reflection questions could be like questions on, okay, think about who you admire most, and what is it about that person that you admire most? What are the characteristics about that person that you admire that's really stood out for you? And so these are some of the questions that I use to help them gain an understanding and probably be able to identify what are some values that are important to them. Okay, so I use that with them, and so they will take the time, maybe a week or so, to reflect on the values before we meet. And when we meet, they would have given me the top 5 values. Okay, and what I do with the top 5 values is I will then print them out into top 5 values, right? So 5 values, okay, so 5 labels in that sense, all right? And I'll bring them physically to meet with them, okay, and have a conversation around the values. And I put all the values in front of them and explore each individual value. And I use the CMA framework to have a conversation with them. Yeah. All right. So the awareness, clarity, and choice conversation to get them to gain an understanding of what are these values and what makes these values important to them. All right. So it was very interesting that they gained a lot of insight out of these values. And through the insights, that is where then I get them to consider, okay, after they have gone through the values, I get them to then consider, okay, let's put all these values together. Now they have understand all these values, you get the insight of these values. And if you're going to draw a picture or choose a picture to encapsulate your values, all these values, what it means to you, what picture would that be? And so the whole purpose and the strategy or the idea or the intention behind doing this is so that they gain a overview or big idea or big picture of what they want to do, what might be their mission statement out of this value. Okay, so very interesting. One of the client that I work with, just to share with you, when I did this with him, he said he was looking at the 5 values, and at the end of the day, he said, okay, I saw a picture that came to my mind, and the picture that came to my mind is a sun. Wow. He said, the picture that came to my mind is a sun. And so we talk a little bit about that, explore a little bit. And then he mentioned this. He said, well, look at the 5 values. When the 5 values come together, okay, it really represents the sun. And that I am really a sun. I am the sun that is behind the cloud, of which I'm here to serve the people. And I'm going to bring light. I'm going to bring warmth. I'm going to bring energy to the people that I'm working with, to the people that are around me. And so regardless of whether I'm working in my current company or I'm going to do something else, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And it was so amazing because he came to the coaching conversation with this hope, or with this situation where he was telling me that he is losing motivation at work. And he's thinking that maybe he should stay or maybe he should have a career change. And with this, when he had this picture, his eyes lit up and there was so much energy within him. And now he says, now I know what I need to do in my organization. Yeah. And immediately he knows what he needs to do and he has made a decision as to what to do. And so that really brought about a transformative change for him. All right. So just simply by exploring the values, that makes a change for him as well. Okay. Another thing that I did with my client is to also not only the values, but also to explore the strength. All right. Oops, where are my slides? Just give me a moment. All right. It's also to explore the strength. And in exploring the strength, basically, I work with my clients to identify what could be their, to list down the strengths. So I give them a list of strength for them to consider, to think through, and to get their, they themselves to identify what could be the 5 key strengths, get their friends to identify what could be their 5 key strengths, get their parents to identify what could be their 5 key strengths, so that it could be, we get good information from that. All right. The other thing that I do with my clients is to use the VIA strength profiler, all right, to get them to do that, to identify the strength. And so the VIA strength profiler is something that you could use. I think you can find it online as well. A great tool to use, right? So, and once we have that, okay, with this, once the client got all the strength listed out, then again, we have a conversation. This was extremely helpful when I was working with a young adult who was wanting to find out, oh, where should I go in terms of the uni course that I should be taking on. Yeah, and so we use the strength finder, we use the strength list, identify the strength, and based on that, when we had a conversation, oh, it allowed him to identify that, hey, he is good at a certain area, he's strong at a certain area, and he's energized when he is moving in those areas and doing things like that. And so with that, then he decided that he should work on he should consider a few career choices. All right. And so that was very interesting. And with that, then he was able to decide on a couple of career choices like pharmaceutical, data analytics. Okay, he decided on some of this, and he eventually then applied for uni based on these courses. Okay, so that was really something. And one of the two that I used to help him to reflect, okay, on his strength and on the whole coaching conversation, okay, was using a tool that I get you to imagine that he is a movie director and he's in a movie. All right, to get him to think through what it's going to be like. What I encounter with young adults is that because of their lack of life experience, they don't have enough for them to kind of work with and to reflect on. And so in order to help them to do that, I use this tool. Okay. So this tool looks something like this. Okay. I told them, I said, okay, if you are I work with this young adult who is looking for a course and a career that he would like to that he hopes to be able to get involved in and to be in the future. So I told him, okay, why don't you imagine yourself as in a movie, all right, and you are the movie director and you're directing this movie about your life and about this person's life, and this person's life is going to go into a new career. So what would be the various scenes look like? And I created all these boxes for him to draw. And so he drew, and also he wrote the script. And it was a very effective tool for him to use, because at the end of the day, he began to realize about what he wants, the kind of environment that he wants, the way that he interacts. So he get to know about himself. He get to know and discover about his strength. He discover what his personality. He also discovered the kind of job, the nature of job that he likes to do. Yeah. And so and this whole exercise became very, very insightful. All right. And so at the end of the day, well, he had decided on what he needs to do. So that was really, really amazing. Okay. And so these are some of the tools that I use in helping my clients as they are searching for life direction, what they need to do. The most helpful thing for me is the tools are great. The tools are amazing. What really enable me to create the space and to draw out from my client is really the competency that I have gained through my training with CMA. yeah, and using the framework of the ACC, using the ACC framework, all right, throughout the whole conversation, even when I was using the tools. So the tools help to get them started, and it was really the competency and the framework of the ACC framework that allows me to draw all this amazing stuff. Okay, so at the end of the day, I'm so thankful that I've been given the opportunity to be able to bring Mike to my clients to help them to discover more about themselves, discover about their strengths, about their values, and that they are able to then make a decision how they want to move forward in their life for themselves in a more positive way. All right. So, so that is my sharing. I am just very thankful for you being here and listening, and I'll be more than happy to take any questions that you may have, myself and also Cho. So thanks once again for being here with us at this moment to listen to Cho and myself share, Ling and myself share, all right, our journey, okay, and also our own experience and our little tips for all of you, okay. So I'd like to open up this time for questions. So if anyone have any questions or you have any comments, feel free to just raise your hand and share. Yes, I see Janet's hand.
I'm really excited, Ronaldo, to hear about your use of the VIA strengths, because I'm particularly interested in values in action and in strengths. And you know how the VIA strengths profile, it's very much about how a person sees herself. So, and sometimes she'll come up with some surprises. So her top 5 strengths might be like, oh, I didn't even know there were strengths. I thought that was normal for people to be like that, you know. And I'm interested to know, do you, could you give me an example of how you might use that, or if you use that VIA strengths in an ACC conversation?
Okay, so when I use the VIA strength, okay, basically is to help them firstly identify the 5 top strengths, right? And then our conversations go around the awareness in gaining the through the clarity conversation to help them gain an insight to, okay, what could this strength be? What makes them think that these are their strengths, and why? What could be the what surprises them, like I mentioned, as they look at it, I ask them what surprises them, and because the strength profiler is not just about them identify their own strength, it's also their friends, and there is also a profiling test online, right? So so you have various inputs coming in, which give a more holistic view. And so I get them, so that's where I get them to look at all the different input by various people and for them to consider what it is. And through the clarity conversation, I will then get them to consider, oh, so looking at what could be some, as much as they know themselves and through their life experience, what could be some experiences that they know that could validate some of this strength. And now, as you're thinking about this strength, what could be some emotions that is coming up for you? Yeah. Okay. So once they're able to identify, excellent. Yeah. And like what you said, Janet, it is really true that many of them are very surprised. Oh, I didn't know that this was my strength. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Yes, very interesting.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Because I'm still at the stage where I'm thinking, I know there's external activities, information, data, understanding that I really want a potential client to engage with, but I also know that in the actual coaching session itself, it's not my role to bring in data from outside. So I'm hearing that you actually may have a session with a client and explore something and say, oh, well, maybe, you know, you can try this between sessions and then bring back what you find and then pick it up in the next session. I mean, I wouldn't call it homework, but it would be more like exploration. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, the first step is to get them to first do their own they'll do their own self profiling, and Then we get the rest other people to do the profiling. Then I have a conversation with him with regards to the strength. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it will be his own reflection on the reflection of him, his strength, and the reflection of other people about his strength.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Then the following week, yeah, we can get him to, okay, now that you see this strength, make observation this coming week, whether how true those strengths are. Do you feel energized?
And I love
Are
that
you
whole thing
excited?
of strength spotting, where you're spotting a strength in other people.
That's
It's a
right.
great activity, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No worries, Janet. All right. Anyone else have any questions or any thoughts?
Not questions, but sort of some thoughts. First of all, let me thank you, Lean and Ronald. It's good to see you face again, Ronald. Thank you so much for this excellent presentations and showing us the application of our coaching skills, the lessons we learn in coaching and how we can apply it in our everyday life. I wished I did coaching 20 years ago. I probably would have had less headaches than I did and grew less gray hair when I was raising my teenagers. But the good thing is that it is never too late. I mean, I see the applications of the principles that we share today, even in relating with our adult children. I mean, because they are in a different sphere of life, they're adults, and the dynamics of parenting is so different when it comes to relating with adult children and being present, practicing active listening, showing empathy, all those principles that now come to play. So I'm still glad that I am doing coaching now, and it is improving my relationship with my adult children, and no longer the helicopter mom that I was when they were teenagers. And I'm no longer getting into all those troubles that I used to get in with them. So great presentation. Thank you for being so vulnerable and authentic with this story. It's been really useful and inspiring learning. And the addition even into parenting that Ronald has brought in, and with helping our young ones to identify their values, their strengths, and playing into that also come to play in parenting, especially for parents, of young adults who are making career decisions, in knowing that every decision they're making in this space of their lives has a long-term impact, subsequently. So this has really been very useful, and I look forward to going back to listen to the earlier sessions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Irene. And may I add something here, since Irene mentioned something, it just stirred up some thoughts in me. And I think coaching is one of the excellent way to parent teenagers and young adults. All the more, if you remember the framework that I shared earlier, and there's this particular framework under Breather, and it's called developmental relationship. Yeah, it's been research has been done to show that young adults, young people, teenagers grow up to become more mature when they have adults who are involved in their life, special relationship that is challenging them to grow, challenging them to empowering them, meaning having a special relationship, a relationship that's intentionally helping them to develop and grow. Yeah, and that helps many young people to take off and to really become more mature. And so I think this is one aspect of coaching, of which coaching comes in this way, where we are able to then not tell our young adults kids what they need to do, simply because young adults doesn't like to be told what they want to do. They are also at a stage where they are breaking up in order to become an adult so that they can make their own decision. And that's a great phase to be in. And we should journey with them, empower them, allowing them to make decisions. It's just that we come along as a coach side by side, expanding their mind, drawing out information that they can see so that they can look at it on the table and they make their own decision. Yeah. And so that is what I do with my two young adult daughters. I have two daughters, 121, 120. All right, and there was a period in my life when my younger daughter was going through a very challenging time, and I have to coach her for 2 years. Yeah, for 2 years. Yeah, and if you want to know the story, no worries. Okay, wait for next year, another ICF coaching week, and I'll tell my story then. The long story short, it was that 2 years has been very enriching. It was very challenging, yet it was very enriching, and it was very rewarding, because at the end of the 2 years, she came out strong, and our relationship came out even stronger. Yeah. Anna, please.
Hi, thank you, Coach Ronald. Thank you very much for sharing. And Coach Lin, thank you. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The second daughter of ours was a surprise to us because she was hyperactive. And our first daughter, she was laid back, so easy, so we were not ready. And that was really hard. It was really, really hard. And I understand what Lin meant, because for me, it's like rock bottom, and I really didn't know what to do, and anger and crying. But she's only 7. So, but what I understood is partnership. Partnership is so important. Even she's 7. It just changed the whole direction. I mean, I can't even express when you build a partnership, doesn't matter the age. It's amazing. Like when you talk, when you discuss things, and when you let them go together, when you listen, that's for sure. That's just the amazing miracle can happen. So yeah. I just have a question to you, Coach Ronald. Is it like some of your tools? Is it NLP coaching or?
No, I'm not trained in NLP. So I've not attended an NLP. If it's of any resemblance, it's not my intention to copy.
No. I just
for the recording.
No. Just the tools, the visual tools that you use. That's what that's just reminded me.
Yeah, it could be something similar. Yeah. So the visual tools, it took me about 2 years for me to think through and sit through and came up with
the
that.
prioritizing. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah, most welcome. So I wanted to add on to what Anna just said about really in parenting children and even young children. In our coaching, transformative coaching, we talk about the ability to coach the who and the what. And to be able to coach the who and the what means it requires us to have the ability to observe the who, to notice the who. And this training has really helped me in parenting my children, in a sense that I was able to, in the conversation when I'm having with them, I'm able to listen to the who of my children. And because I was able to listen to the who, I'm able to call that out. And as a result, my children get to know themselves a lot more. They discover who they are through the conversation that we are having. Not me telling them who they are. It's just me framing and reflecting what they say about who they are. Yeah. And it's so important for children, even young adults, to know who they are. In order for them to be successful, they need to know who they are. Yeah. For them to gain confidence, they need to know who they are. And so that was really, really something that I really appreciate about coaching. Yeah. And how coaching has transformed me as a parent. Yeah, that's amazing. All right. Okay. We still have some time. It's still open. So anyone would like to share? Yeah. Or anyone have some thoughts or some questions?
Susan?
Hi. First of all, I just want to thank both of you, Lynn and Roland, for your amazing presentations. I have something very little to say, really. I'm just happy to know that I am not alone. It's very comforting. And I'm really appreciating, I guess, the practicality of coaching. I mean, what comes to mind for me is charity begins at home. So I'm just happy that you've shared your own personal stories and how you have brought in what you have learned into your life. And I think that's the part that sometimes we forget about coaching, because we come in thinking of the other, thinking of how we want to help our clients and all of that. And sometimes we forget about ourselves. So I love that you've reminded us that it starts with us. So thank you for that.
Yes. My wife always tells me, you are not listening. I am. Francis.
Sure. Thank you, Ronald. First of all, I'd like to thank Lynn and you, Ronald, also for a fantastic experience. So why am I saying that? One, I'm not a parent. Okay, I'm not a parent. I have nieces and nephews. But what came up for me as I listened to the presentations, Susan stole one idea. Certainly, it's so practical. Coaching is so practical. And particularly as we've developed our own capabilities of observation and bringing that to our familial situations and our interactions with others, we can just so enrich the exchange that we have with other human beings. And, really, that's what we have. And that's what we have. That is what makes life what it is. It is our relationships that we have with others, and to the degree to which we can enhance those interactions so that they feel seen and heard. And quite frankly, we end up being seen and heard too, because we really open up the capacity for people to reflect and to receive. So that's one thing that really, really stood out for me. And I was just so appreciative that when we talk about young people, their biggest thing is they want to be seen as, even if they're 2 years old, they want to be seen for their self-efficacy and their being, grown up. And so when we can bring these coaching competencies to that conversation, we're actually treating them the way they want to be seen in a more constructive way. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Azadeh, please.
Yeah, I just want to thank you both. I think I'll just be repeating what everyone else is saying, but I'm so inspired, first of all, by your energies, both of you, that you're so motivated and you're so inspired to bring yourselves into this space that has touched you personally. And I think that is really inspiring also for us coaches who are looking out to see, where do I want to bring myself in? What contribution do I want to bring? And thank you for your vulnerability and your openness in sharing your life, where you see that this has been really impactful and how you want to spread that and you want to spread your love. So I'm so inspired by that. I already think you're so infectious, what you're already creating here. And the second is your mindset of being so open to learn. And specifically towards the youth, that really touches my heart. There is so much indeed that we can learn from them. And I love this embracing of a partnering and a partnership relationship in which we can learn from one another. I was just thinking, I wish you spoke Farsi. Both of you. I'm like, can't you come to Iran and have webinars and coaching sessions for us? So I just hope that you spread this, and thank you for inspiring all of us. These are definitely things I will take home, and I hope that there will be more coaches who will specialize in practical parts of life, not just, in every segment. Executive is great, but it's so great to stand beside the youth and beside relationships and partnerships and families and parenting. You've really inspired today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ezra, for very insightful sharing. And I think all the session in this week from CMA can be spread out and applied somewhere in anyone's life. And I think the time is almost gone. So I think this is the time for us to close this session. If you still have questions, you can stay with us for some more time, and then we are happy to answer your question. So because the International Coaching Week is still going on, there are more sessions to be attend during the week. So just go to the icon on the left to find more topics that you would like to attend, and then register for that. And if you would like to get the CCEU, then please scan on the right one to register, and then that will be a contribution of $20 for our fund to support everyone in Africa in a charity project. So thank you so much for attending this session with us and sharing your insights. And we hope to see you all in the coming session during the week. So
thank you. For those of us who would like to stay back and ask some questions, feel free to. We will be staying back for a while. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, for the excellent
you.
hosting.
Thank you,
Thank
Irene.
you.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Well done, team.
Thank
Well
you,
done,
Susan.
team. This was really good.
Excellent. Okay, those of you
Bye.
who need to sleep, please sleep.
Still here.
Hi.
Hi, Janet.
Hi.
Hi. I
have a chance for a question. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Adriana.
Adriana. Go ahead, Adriana. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. To give you. So look, and it's for you, Ronald. I'm so inspired by you. My question is, I have this client who talk about, he's a coach and he has a lot of experience, but he talk about his life purpose. And I use our framework of PCC, and then he said, well, and at the end I found myself and he said, I want to come out with a list of underlying purposes to find my purpose. But what I found and at the end of our conversation, he said, have some identity issues. So I was thinking, and then when you show these tools, I was thinking, well, it's not about to create a list of what will be the purpose. And when I asked exactly for the strengths and for the set of values, and he said, no, it's what I'm trying to find in this conversation. What are the values? So I can, and then it was the identity issues that he comes up. So I was thinking, what tool or how you will embrace a type of conversation like that?
Okay, so
sorry, it's too much.
not that it's too much. I guess it's because I wasn't there to listen to the entire conversation. Then I may not have the full picture. Yeah. So just to answer to your question, and I hope I'm in the right direction. If it's not, then please forgive me. Identity comes from how much we know ourselves, and how much we know ourselves also comes under the values that you hold. So values shine light to who you are, right? So values is one, and strength is another. And if you know your strength and you know your values, then you are able to paint a picture of who you are. So identity is to be discovered. All right, identity is to be discovered. It's like what Michelangelo said, right? So, I mean, Michelangelo's crafted David, the amazing piece of David, right? The young David boy, yeah, using a stone, a marble stone that has been rejected by 3 other sculptors, right? Sculptures. So what happens then is that, as far as Michelangelo says, he said within, he's able to carve out this David simply because he saw the David in there and he was able to carve it out. He basically removed what is not David. Yeah. So identity is really about discovering. So through a coaching conversation, then as the client begins to identify or discover or realize their values, which are elements to help you know you, like your values and your strength, then you are able to paint who you are. So that is the thing. That's the reason why my approach is immediately I will go into values as well as strength. And let's talk about that, right? Yeah.
You ask directly, what are your values? What are your set of values? And how about if this person say to you, well, is what I'm trying to find through this conversation.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I would tell them to then I offer them the tools. I said, okay, so let's this is a list of values. Let's look at what really matters to you. Right, and identify the values. Yeah, so I do have some tools there, and if you need some tools, you can write into me. I'll be happy to share some tools with you. Yeah.
Oh, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I'm so happy, so blessed to be here. And thank you, Lynn, for your conversation as well. So inspired.
You're most welcome. Jeanette?
Yeah, I just loved what you two just said, and I kind of feel like nothing new under the sun, and I feel like, you know, that's the biblical truth coming out there as well. And I feel inspired because I came into the coaching training really inspired by doing the Clifton Strengths Indicator. And I, as a 63, well, I was 62 at the time, I really didn't know what to do with my life, you know, and so, but then, and I hadn't even really heard of coaching, like I didn't really know what coaching was, but I really feel like God's kind of guided me through this process. And I've always had values been so important, and spirituality has been important. But I also now function beyond the Christian ghetto, if you like. And so I find that the values and strength relationship is a very, very powerful way, not just to help children and teenagers. And my husband and I are expert about being parents because we have no children. So we can always see it like, oh, we would never do that. But I just have so much respect for anybody who has got children. But when so I'm just sharing because I'm excited, but I see that for people my age, and I like to work with women in midlife, it's kind of like sometimes they're rediscovering either values that they never knew they had, or values that have been dormant because they've had to suppress so many parts of themselves. And I guess I'm just really excited to, first of all, apologies for calling you Ronaldo. I think I called you. It's Ronald, isn't it? Yeah. And also,
it's okay.
Okay,
as long as it works for you.
But I feel like I know you a little bit because Min Nock is one of my practice partners in the coaching process, and she says, "Oh, Ronald says this," and "Oh, Ronald said that," and I thought, "Yeah, okay, no, I've met him. I know who he is." So really, I'm just so excited by what both of you have shared, and I just kind of had to share with you so that I didn't bounce off my chair.
Thank you for sharing that, Jeanette. Really appreciate it.
Okay,
and
I shall leave you now.
Yeah, okay, all right.
All right, thanks
Any
again.
other questions, any thoughts, any comments?
No, you're so kind with your time. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
You
See
too.
you.
Thank you.
Hi, Lena. Are you there?